Hi, this is voiceover artist and coach Rodney Salisbury, and you're listening to the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast with John Melly.
This is the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast, episode number 52.
Hello? Is this thing on? Wait a minute. Are those cinnamon raisin cookies?
Hey there, it's John. How are you? Thanks for spending some time with me today. We are still getting some great feedback from everyone on episode 50, where my bride Ann interviewed me, and Tanya Sims, former guest on this program, reached out and said that she likes bacon too. Yeah. And if you listen to episode 50, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Eric Reynolds was my guest in episode 51, and I was messaging with Eric during the week, and one of the things I said to him was, one of the cool things about producing the podcast is that I get to listen to the content again while I'm editing it and producing it. And when I do that, I pick up on different things that I may have missed the first time when we were actually recording the interview. And there's some really good stuff in that conversation with Eric that triggered some thoughts that I had about rules of engagement and some other things that I will be expanding on in a future episode. So I want to thank Eric again for being a guest. The number of downloads for that episode have been very, very strong since we published it last week. Thanks for listening to that. And if you haven't done so, you don't have to listen to the podcast just once. I'd recommend going back and listening to episodes that pique your curiosity. I'd listen to them again, and you will hear different things. Trust me, if you haven't done so. A couple of things, just some announcements. As of this recording, we've had 57,242 downloads of the various odd and sundry episodes of this VoiceOver Marketing Podcast. Thank you very much. We've also got some events coming up. John Florian, I mentioned this in previous episodes. He's invited me to do a webinar on the VoiceOver Athlete, a regular sponsor of this podcast. That's going to be in December. I'm going to have more information to follow probably within the next few episodes of the podcast. John also wanted me to thank everyone for ordering the VO Legal book written by Rob Siglampaglia. People have been ordering that. That's been a sponsor of this program as well. And also, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has purchased the Personal Story Marketing Deluxe package that I've been offering to folks. And it's very, very much appreciated. And if you have downloaded the free version of my Personal Story Marketing piece, which you can do, it's still available for free. If you're serious about using that as a launching point for creating your own powerful marketing piece that uses your own personal voiceover journey, the story, and I'm guessing if you have downloaded it, you'd be serious about it, or you wouldn't even have visited the site to download it, then this is an ideal first step. Not only does it work, it's only $17.95. So it's really the tiniest investment that you can make and still have a realistic expectation of results. So if you have downloaded the free version of my Personal Story Marketing piece, check out the deluxe marketing package, which is the marketing piece, but it's color-coded so you know what all the different components and strategies are in that marketing piece. Plus, the really cool thing is that I've released an audio from the Vaults of the Mastermind group I did a couple of years ago, where I did about a 25-minute presentation on story marketing and what should be included in a story marketing piece and the reasons why I put those in there. It's all color-coded. It's only $17.95. So go check that out. Let me know what you think about it. My guest today is David Lasauskas, and this is an interview that I have been looking forward to sharing with you for some time. And I have to give David an apology. I told him that this episode was going to be published last week, and I got a little behind on my podcast, and I had recorded my wife Ann for episode 50, and putting together episode 50 was kind of a big deal. So it took a little bit more time for me to put all that stuff together. It was kind of a celebratory episode, and it's different, just kind of did a behind the scenes thing. So it took a little bit longer to put together episode 50, and I got a week behind, and I had recorded Eric Reynolds, and we published that, and I goofed and I forgot to tell David that, this is going to go out a little later than I expected it to, so I am sorry, David. We have it now, and like I said, this is so cool. This is a neat story. David has created a lifestyle business. So, I hear from people that it's hard to grow a business and it's hard to build a voiceover business, and yes, it is. It all takes work, but he's doing it on the road. He is a mobile voiceover talent, and he's making it happen. So I just want to thank him for sharing his story and some of the resources that he used and continues to use to grow and market his business. So let's go chat with David Lasauskas, the mobile voiceover talent. Welcome back. As I mentioned in the first part of the program, my guest today is David Lasauskas, and David is a full-time, get this, mobile voice talent who records voiceovers for commercials and many other genres from his 36-foot motorhome that houses a broadcast-quality recording booth that he converted from the half bath in the RV. And David and his wife Mara, their mini Australian shepherd Kuma, and Siamese cats Jack and Juno have taken to the road exploring the United States and getting their creative juices through travel. David, when I heard how you do this, I said, I got to get this guy on the show. How are you?
Outstanding. How are you doing?
I'm great. This is so cool. And I'm so glad that you can be on the show because, there's a lot of people that do different things and they're working hard to build their business. And you've built this into a lifestyle business. And I just wanted to talk to you about it and how you go about doing it. Basically just show people that anything is possible in voiceover.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, kind of sprung out of how much we love to travel and, wanted to find a good career that we could do remotely. And it's been working out really well.
That's awesome. So tell us about your background. What's your story, your voiceover story?
My background is actually, it comes from a technical. I was in corporate America and, high-tech manufacturing and service and medical equipment and test and measurement equipment. We really wanted to find a way to travel, and actually through my corporate jobs started doing a lot of training videos and stuff like that for repair techs and such, and started making videos that way. Found out that I had a real good knack for voiceover, and that got put on the on the list of possible remote jobs, and then here I am.
What other jobs were on that list, just out of curiosity?
Anything from like a bench technician, repair work, up through managing repair groups and, call centers for medical device equipment, ultrasound.
Wow. Niches that you never even knew about. Well, you did, but I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the training came second nature to me, when it came to the technical training, and I just kind of, converted that to the voiceover part of it.
So what prompted all of this? Yeah, I mean, and I want to follow up on what you just said because I think it's important and it's a point that I've made a number of times. What made you say, okay, let's do voiceover, and what does your wife do?
She actually has been, she's got her hands in a lot of different things. She makes jewelry on the road. She actually has a glass kiln.
Oh, wow.
On board on the RV that she can make fused glass jewelry and doing some online videos and such. And what really sparked it is we've always loved to travel. Had a situation, too, with my parents where they really wanted to, do this sort of thing, travel after retirement and everything. Unfortunately, they got too sick to do it and didn't have the opportunity, and we're like, we should do this now.
I like that thinking, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was, why we didn't want to wait till later, so it was all about taking a few years and figuring out what we could do from the road and just kind of working towards those goals.
That's fantastic. So one of the things that I wanted to point out was that you are doing voiceover or started doing voiceover based on your knowledge base in that you had a technical background and you started doing voiceovers for technical videos, correct?
Correct.
One of the things that I talk to new voiceover talent about a lot is using their knowledge of the industries and experiences that they've had in their life and putting the voiceover aspect into that and making that sort of like an add-on service to your knowledge base. And so you've taken the technological background that you have and you've added on the voiceover service, if you will, to that. And for people who know you, that makes complete sense. It becomes an additional service that David offers. Oh, yeah, okay, so his technical background, and so he's narrating things. And so then the voiceover thing became a natural progression to other genres of voiceover. And I think a lot of people get hung up on, well, I'm new to voiceover, so I can't really charge that much, but I don't want to stay working at this rate forever, so how do I raise my prices? And I remember somebody, I can't remember who said it, but I used it in a presentation I did for Chris Tom's voiceover workout group. Hello, folks, if you're listening. That was a lot of fun. But Chris Tom's group, I said, if you were a house painter and you were new at painting a house, you wouldn't say, well, I'm kind of new to house painting, so I'll only charge you X. You charge what it costs to paint the house, right?
Absolutely.
So tell me what the reaction was for people who, when you said, you know what, I'm going to do this voiceover quote unquote thing.
As you know, it varies. There was some super supportive, folks, and then there was some super, call me when you're done with that little adventure, but it's all about surrounding yourself with the people who support you, and don't give up on your dream.
So, how do you run your business?
So, you mean as far as the technical aspect of it, or
well, both. And you're on the road, you're on the move. So, how a lot of folks think, well, I've got to have a home studio. Well, you do, but you've got a mobile home studio.
So I keep all of my gear outside of the half bath because it's a little cramped in there. It's just me, my iPad, and my microphone in there. Keep all the outboard gear all mounted outside. For me, kind of my only limiting factor, which really hasn't been too much of an issue with me on the road, has been that I tend to shy away from certain jobs where we want a phone patch in or things like that. I work much better on my own because I want to do it on my hours. I want to do it, off hours overnight or something like that, or where I can find a quiet spot. So that's kind of really been my only challenge with it. But otherwise, I'm running the business from the RV the same as I did in the house.
So you're using the internet to reach out to clients and market and...
Absolutely, yeah.
And you're collecting payment through PayPal or something like that?
Mostly through PayPal, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have like a physical location for tax returns and bills and all that kind of stuff? Or
I do, yeah. There's all kinds of mail services that are available for people who travel. And one in particular that I was using is based in Texas. They'll take all of your mail, and you could go online, and they scan in the mail, like the envelope, so you can see it and say, oh, yeah, you can either shred that or scan the contents and send it to me, or physically send it to me. And, they handle all of the physical mail coming through.
So it's a service that you pay for, so you don't have to go back home, so to speak, and pick up your mail every week or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, they'll find me. They'll find me, and the physical stuff will get to me.
That is so cool. What's the craziest thing that they've had to send to you?
For packages, I usually use Amazon Prime. So as far as the physical mail, not too crazy things, but with packages and stuff coming through, I think one of the weirdest things was when we blew out one of our USB ports. And I had to have some of those shipped out, so I had got to keep all the gear charged and everything.
Yeah.
One of the USB ports blew out, so it's kind of ordering gear from the road to replace broken stuff. And the 2-day Prime shipping is a very handy thing.
Yeah, I love Amazon Prime. So you just have it shipped to an Amazon pickup location or something like that?
Yeah, a lot of, if you're staying in a campground, a lot of places will accept packages. Otherwise you can always, first time you roll into a town, You can check what the zip code is at the local post office. You could get things delivered to general delivery, just add a zip code, general delivery, and go pick it up. So the mail thing is not nearly as difficult as we thought it was going to be. It's actually been pretty smooth.
Oh, that's fantastic. So where's the coolest place that you've done a voiceover?
Just last week, we were driving through Oregon, and a rush job came through, and it was very time sensitive, and we still had a few hours left driving. And I pulled off at a rest stop I don't even know what town we were near in Oregon.
Yeah.
And just tried to park as far away from the idling trucks as possible, and threw on the headphones and got it out. Yeah, rest stop in Central Oregon, I would say.
Now, where's the most beautiful place you've done maybe the rest stop was beautiful. I don't know, but
it was okay. It wasn't as nice as Maine.
Oh, okay.
That was a very creative area for me, for sure. Up in I had really never been up in the Northeast before we started traveling, and this past summer we checked it all off.
You're up in my neck of the woods.
Absolutely. Boston was absolutely beautiful. Loved our stay there.
I'm sorry I didn't know you were in town. I would have figured out a way to reach out and connect with you, but you probably didn't know I was here at the time. So that's and you've got an itinerary. How many miles have you put on the road this year?
I want to say probably about 8,000 or 9,000.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this?
As far as the travel goes, just for about the past year, we had. In 2015, we were in a Sticks and Bricks house and ended up spending just around half of the year on the road. And that's when we just decided we were going to get rid of the house and, not even bother having a place to come back to.
Wow.
Just keep on going. Yeah.
So you're not anchored to any geographic location anymore? We
are not.
Wow.
No roots at all.
That's it's almost difficult for me to comprehend.
It was a scary proposition, but as the stuff started leaving our lives, it really became a lot easier, and it was freeing in a lot of ways.
You mean stuff in terms of material possessions?
Yeah, physical stuff. You can only fit so many of your worldly possessions in a space this size.
Right. I'm just absolutely fascinated. I'm sure our listeners are too. I wish this could be a call-in program because there would be questions lined up. So describe a typical day for me.
So I'll get up. I'll check to see my inbox for any auditions coming through. Through the handful of agents that I use. Start doing auditions. If needed, kind of depending on the day. What marketing I'm going to send out, who I'm going to reach out to, have some coffee, go outside, sit in nature, bring my iPad with, and, look at some more emails.
Yeah.
As the jobs come in, just kind of lay out a set time. I don't have as strict of a routine as when I want to record, and a lot of that has to deal with environment. As we were going through the Northeast with the cicadas up there, as you know, I wasn't able to do a lot of my recording during the mid-afternoon time when the cicadas were screaming. So when I was up there, exactly, I adjusted to, recording in the evenings.
Right. You always know when it's August and fall's coming when they start. And when I hear the first one, and it's usually like a really hot day at the end of a really hot day, and you're thinking, oh, no. That means Labor Day's around the corner, and we're into the fall, and then it all goes downhill from there till April. Anyway.
My typical day is like most voice artists' typical day. It's just that in between times, I have driving days. We'll take a day or two at a time and move a few hundred miles and either get to a milder climate or just to go see a new area.
This is so fascinating. And what was the biggest psychological hump that you had to overcome to say, okay, I'm going to do this? And did you give yourself a certain amount of time to figure out, okay, I'm going to fish or cut bait, like this isn't going to work for me and we'll just go back? Or what were your challenges?
Well, it was I was fortunate enough that before I started doing voiceover, that I was working a job. I was doing some technical writing for one of the medical manufacturers, and I was able to work that job remote. And so I had already been kind of working remote and enjoying that part of life, and started weaving the voiceover work into it. So I didn't really have a super hard cutoff. I kind of eased into it and spent a lot of time building my strategy and just trying not to get discouraged during the early time like that. But it just kind of happened naturally, and when we made the decision, I mean, the hardest decision was, yes, we're going to sell the house and leave. But once we actually made that and started in that process, it was like, we just said, I don't know why we thought that was going to be so hard.
Really?
Because it happened. And like I said, getting rid of all of the stuff was just very freeing and made us feel, a lot more willing to just get out there and enjoy life and not have the burden, quote unquote, of having the house to go to and having to take care of all the stuff and just living it day by day.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so I wanted to ask you in terms of how you've used that word freeing a couple of times. How how has it been freeing for you, other than what you just said about not having to take care of stuff?
Well, I mean, it's, the being your own boss, working your own schedule. With that comes being tough on yourself to keep your own schedule.
Yeah.
The freeing part is really, if you don't like where you are, if you don't like, if you're staying in a campground and you don't like your neighbors, you just move and you go to some place that you like more. You go to some place beautiful. You explore new things. And I think that's kind of the freeing part, really, is just on a daily basis making your own decisions of where your journey is going to go today.
That's so cool. There are frequently discussions on some of the voiceover groups and social media about what do you do if you go on vacation? Do you take your recording equipment with you? And then they make the pillow tent in the hotel rooms and all of that. I have made the decision that when I'm away, because I'm so busy most of the time, when I'm away, I'm away. I mean, I put an autoresponder on my email. I rarely check voice messages and all that kind of stuff. There's usually a greeting that says, you can't get me right now. I am off the grid, so to speak. So you've literally taken your stuff on the road. What's the biggest challenge that you do face from this type of business/lifestyle?
There's two of them. One I mentioned, which was based on location, not always being able to choose when I can record.
Where are you right now?
We are just northeast of Seattle in Washington State.
Oh, neat. My wife Ann and I were out there last summer. We went to Seattle, and we didn't bring a car. We flew in, and then we were right in downtown Seattle and walked pretty much everywhere. And then we took Amtrak from Seattle down to Portland, Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
And that was beautiful because we were right along the Sound, Puget
Right. Sound,
and we had a couple of people, volunteers from the National Park Service, that went to the what's the word? It's almost like the cafeteria car or the coach. It wasn't a coach car.
Sure, the dining car.
The dining car, yeah. But they weren't serving meals there. You had to go get your stuff and bring it up. And it was glassed in at the top. And they gave a guided narration. They were volunteers for the National Park Service, and they were telling us all about the different historical things that we were seeing in Mount St. Helens, and they were talking about the mounds of volcanic ash piled up along the railroad tracks and how the ash has been great for plants and vegetation to grow in. So it's become very, very fertile. But, I mean, they said all these banks along the side of the railroad on one side of it is actually plowed volcanic earth and ash that they just had to move to get out of the way, first off of the railroad tracks and also around the streets and everything that got buried back in the 80s from the volcano. So, I mean, it was a really, really cool experience. So, but I didn't do any voiceover while I was away.
That's actually my second challenge. I'd mentioned my first challenge of kind of not being able to control my timing of when I want to record. And I'm not quite to the stage of you where I can really put it down when I, kind of put the out of office and go. Is I tend to always be available, and I'd say that's kind of a challenge for me is walking away from that. But it's what I enjoy, so it's kind of hard to put it down that way too.
I'm sure there are times where you're kind of like, okay, I'd rather just go take a hike in the woods that we're close to, but you've got some editing to do or what have you. But in the grand scheme of things, the balance, you have a lot more control of your time than like 99% of the people. You must get a lot of, but what about an insert blank? And, I asked you about mail. I asked you about physical location. How do you handle insurance, like health insurance or any kind of business insurance and stuff like that? You must have had to research all of this.
Yeah, it really comes down to they want you to have a physical location. And for people who are location independent, those kind of, those are real issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you have to do if you're going to live this lifestyle is you have to establish residency someplace. That's really easy if you have a relative that you used to live near and can use their address, for residency, or can establish some form of my intention to return to this area for residency. And as long as you have that address, then that's what you base anything as if you were getting your insurance or your business license or anything through that state. And there are some states that are better for others from that, from a taxing standpoint and everything. So if you start wanting to get into this lifestyle, there are numerous forums that you can start reading and researching which states are good for insurance and which for your car tags and all that kind of stuff. We're actually still registered where we were last, which was in New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Where we last had a house, and that's where all of our stuff is going through now.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's great. What abouts did you get from people? I mean, I'm sure you said you had people who were kind of resistant to it, which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
What were some other questions that you got from people that you were like, yeah, I'll figure it out?
Exactly. Yeah. There's all those sort of things, the insurance, the car tags, the business license, all that kind of thing. But then there's really, I think the hardest thing with people I know is trying to convince them that I'm not on vacation, that I'm working a job, and it's, well, you just talk into a mic and drive around all day and you're on vacation.
So how do you overcome that challenge?
I just hang up.
Serious?
No. You just kind of...
Well, you are an independent thinker there, David. Who knows?
Exactly. I have no time for you. Move on.
That's
Take
awesome.
your negativity elsewhere, friend.
Yeah.
No, I mean, depending on the circumstance, who it is, it's, you gotta point out, doing a job just like you, sometimes a lot more hours than you're doing. But yeah, what's the famous saying? If you love what you do, you'll never work another day.
Right. And there's another one that I love is successful people will do what unsuccessful people will not do.
That's right.
Yeah. And so
that's right. That's the difference between I can do that and yeah, but you didn't.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great. Just think about that. Yeah, but you didn't. So you're not going to have the regret, are you?
No, never.
That's fantastic. So you've been doing this about a year. I may have asked this already, but when did this idea come to you?
Since Mara and I have, since we were dating and we were early married and everything, we always loved to go traveling and camping. And it was probably around 2007 that we first started thinking about getting an RV for traveling. And so we started casually looking. And then I would say it was about 2012 when we were actually, at the time we were in San Jose, California. We decided rather than trying to buy property there that we would buy a house without property. So we bought an RV and started traveling then. And as the years, between 2012 and 2015, we just started being away from our house more and more and more. So that was, I would say, kind of slowly over time between 2007 and 2015, and then it was really, last year when we were spending so much time on the road that we kind of made the decision that we could just live that way.
You said, to heck with this, off we go.
Yeah. And a lot of it came from, having some place to go back to take care of the yard and to take care of all of the stuff with the house. Mm-hmm. We couldn't go as far as we wanted to. We could have never gone from Albuquerque, up to Maine and back in the time frame that we did, with still having to worry about, having to go back and take care of things back at home.
Right. The house plant's watered and have the toilets been flushed so that the mold's not growing and all that rigmarole. Huh.
It's much different. It's much different not, taking a one-way trip than having to think about the round trip.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. So this is a marketing podcast. So I want to ask you, how do you go about marketing for your clients?
So I do a lot of direct email marketing. I find using Google a lot. I actually find a lot of jobs through Craigslist.
I thought you were going to say that.
What's that?
I thought you were going to say that.
Why is that?
I just had this thing is when you said you started to use the internet a lot, I said, I wonder if he's going to Craigslist. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, so I will give you my little Craigslist secret sauce. I use a site that's called Search Tempest.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I haven't.
Basically, it's a way to search Craigslist through all markets at the same time. So rather than having to search, the individual Craigslist markets for whatever keywords that you're looking for, you can put that, your keywords into Search Tempest, and it will go through all of the markets for Craigslist and return results.
Okay.
So I have a handful, probably 20 or so different search terms that I'll use through there to, find potential work. And what's really cool about Search Tempest as well is you can take that search and export it as an RSS feed. So I get all of those coming into my news feed for all the Craigslist ads. So it makes it really easy to, scroll through all the garbage and find the ones that I want to respond to.
That's so cool. My mind started racing as you were telling me this, and I'll share it with you. But so, how much of your technical background really helped you with putting that system together?
I guess it's the technical aspect and the curiosity mind of putting it together. Mm-hmm. I started by doing Google searches, looking for the Craigslist ads posted that day, going through all the different markets and doing that. And just from my sheer laziness, there's got to be a better way. So that's where I spent some time and found a better way to do it that just fits much better for the way I want to search.
So I imagine that took some time for you to set up.
Yeah, it took a fair amount of research and finding out, what tool I wanted to use. But, like I said, but it's worth all the time to keep my laziness.
There you go. So you're in Seattle now. And correct. Where are you headed next? Wherever you kind of think, let's go here? Or do you have like an idea of where you're heading now?
Well, we're actually going to be kind of hanging out in the Northwest for a while, definitely through the winter and stuff here. This has kind of always been one of our favorite places. Okay. And not that we're looking to get a house anytime soon, but we're certainly noodling around the idea of maybe buying a chunk of dirt somewhere up here and having a place to go and see all the beautiful sights.
That's really cool. Now, will you go up into Canada, or will you go down to Mexico or anything like that, or do you just pretty much stay in the continental U.S.?
We have not crossed borders yet, but certainly would like to do that into Canada for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe for, in the spring, perhaps.
Yeah. No, yeah. Obviously, now's not the time to. I mean, sorry, Canada. We have a lot of listeners in Canada. So, well, if you're from there, you probably love the winters. Yeah. But, of course, that part of the continent, am I correct? It tends to be more of a milder winter?
Absolutely, yeah. In British Columbia. It's just extension of the Northwest yet. It's gorgeous up there.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
That's cool. And, of course, a passport would be one of those things that you would need a physical place for the collective they.
You got it.
Right. Okay. Now, because this is an election year, do you vote? Do you vote absentee?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same place where you have established residency. You know, that's where my driver's license is. That's
Okay,
where,
yeah.
you know, all the voting registration for sure.
Yeah, okay. So all these things that you think about, that's interesting. I'm sure there are people listening to this podcast who are, as am I to some degree, thinking this would be really, really cool. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone who may be contemplating this idea, even for part of the year?
Even for what?
Even for part of the year.
You know, it really comes down to taking inventory of the stuff that you have and the stuff that you need, you know, especially if you're planning on doing it full time. And, you know, just do it. My wife, she's got a plaque that she hung up in here that, you know, we look at every day that reminds us why we're here. And it's just, you know, don't give up on your daydream.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's really cool. So if people were interested and wanting to learn more, are you open to receiving contact from other people in the voiceover community about this?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can't answer questions, you know, there are a ton of forums that I can direct people to, and I'd be happy to facilitate that for sure.
Oh, that's great. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Probably through my direct email, which is david@davidlasowskis.com.
Okay, and we're going to put some links to that on the show notes page for this episode. A couple of questions, if I could. Would it be possible for you to share some pictures of your studio setup so we could put that on the show notes page, and maybe some pictures from the road or something like that of where you are today, where we recorded this podcast episode? And
certainly,
you know, people have the theater of the mind going at this point, so it's always fun to kind of put those things together. And if you want to send me a bunch, I can put together like a photo album on the show notes page.
Yeah, I will certainly send you some pictures. It's fun to get that out there and share it.
Send a picture of that quote too. Don't give up on your daydream. I love that. I think that is so cool.
Yeah, I will go do that. I'll go take a picture of that for you.
That's fantastic. Well, David, this has been a really fun conversation. I have to admit, on some level, I am really jealous. But you know what? That's my problem. If I really want to do it, then I could go ahead and do it.
That's right.
You know, I'll have to figure out the next step for me. You know, and who knows when that will be. I love what I'm doing now, but I love the individualism and the spirit of, you know what? I'm doing what I want and embracing life. That I really admire it. I think it's just fantastic. And thank you for sharing that story and letting me know what you do and being on the podcast. This has been great.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for, you know, sharing what you have over the years and, you know, inspiring people like me to get out there and do it.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. Did I really inspire you to go out there and do it?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I think I even when I first found you, we were living in California, and I think I had even sent you a message at one time when we downloaded all of your previous podcasts, and we were taking a trip from just a trip in the car from California up to Seattle and back, and that's what we did on the whole way up was we were listening to the voiceover marketing podcast and kind of going, yeah, you know what? This is what I think I want to do.
Oh, wow. I'm honored. That really, that's really, really cool. I think you just made my day. That's cool. I'm honored to have had that impact. It's really, really cool. Wow, that's neat. Were you in the National Guard?
No.
No, okay. There was another gentleman who emailed me who was on his way. He did something similar. He was driving to his 2-week service commitment for the National Guard, and he was doing the same thing. I wish I could remember his name, but at any rate, no, that's really cool. So your web address is again?
It's davidlasowskis.com.
All right. And
just like it sounds.
davidlasowskis.com.
You got it.
And we will put links to that and your email and all the other cool things that we talked about today. David, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you a safe and awesome journey and great success on the road.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Wasn't that fun? He was such a great guest, and I have those pictures David said he was going to send. So there are links to his website and also a photo album of the different pictures that he sent to us from him being on the road, his studio on his mobile home, and that "don't give up on your daydream" quote that I thought was really cool too. So, David, thank you for sharing everything you did during the episode. It was fantastic. My guest for next week is none other than Bill DeWeese. He is the author of How to Build a Six-Figure Voiceover Business, and we had a great conversation with a lot of cool ideas for you to take notes on. Be sure to tune in next week for that interview. Until then, I will talk to you next week. And Uncle Frank, why don't you wrap this up for us?
Our program originates in the Boston studios. We hope you'll join us again. Until then, we bid you au revoir, keep your chin up, and the best of luck.
Well, that's it for this episode of the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to it at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com so you'll get notices of new episodes, and please share it with your friends and colleagues in the voiceover world. Also, it would be a huge help if you'd like this podcast and rate it on iTunes to help keep it near the top of the list. Feel free to share your comments and questions about this episode and future topics you'd like discussed at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com. And if you'd like more information on one-on-one coaching where we focus on growing your business, feel free to drop me a line at my cyber assistant's email address at mike@johnmelly.com. Thanks for listening. Now go out there and share your voice with the world.